Hey gang, this is Andy over at the Facebook Live TV show. I'm glad that you are here with me today. Go ahead and begin commenting as soon as you can, just to make sure that I know that everything is working just fine. We're also waiting for our guest, Jessica, to get connected. And so we will be getting started shortly. First, I want to let you know that this particular show is being brought to you by Evolvepreneur. This is the genius of John North. Some of you may know John North, and if you don't, you better get to know him. You can get to his website there at Evolvepreneur.club. One of the things that John has put together is that he's discovered 5 phases of most entrepreneurship, and they are the founder. The founder is, many of you have obviously been a founder of your own business or your own program, and that is where you get this bright idea to go ahead and start your own business. That's the founder stage. Some of that involves research and that kind of stuff, and then the explorer is the next phase where you're beginning to explore all those tools and things you're going to need to make that business work. Then you got your organizer, where you begin the third stage is called organizer, where you begin to organize all of your stuff to make sure that you're doing everything you need to do to make the business successful. And we'll get into more details about that a little bit later on in some future broadcasts. And then the investor, you begin to start making money or investing back into the business. And then the end is you're a time master, where you're just now managing everything and keeping it all going. And that fits in perfectly with what we're going to be talking about today, as long as we can make sure and get a hold of Jessica here. I think she's on. We're going to send her to the broadcast now and see if she is on. You're on in 2, 1. Hey, Jessica, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, and I can hear you too. Fantastic. I was just kind of buying some time there just to make sure everything was connected. But those stages actually really do fit into what it is we're going to talk about today, because a VA can help with each one of those stages. And so first, now that we have you on, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why we should even be listening to your expertise in the virtual assistant arena?
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you, Andy, for having me. My name is Jessica Powers, and I started my virtual assistant business about a year ago, last fall. And I came in, my volume came in a little when you were describing what you were sponsoring. So I'll try to connect that for you. I'll try to weave that in. But I could answer at least one of those questions as far as why business owners, correct? Why business owners would need a VA service?
Yeah, well, I'm going to get to those questions in a minute. But what's your experience in helping an entrepreneur with their business and being a virtual assistant?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm sure we'll get through the misconceptions and questions people have a little later, but What I excel the most in with helping business owners is connecting dots with their time and their resources and how to be the most efficient with what they do. So basically, I'm a professional solution finder, and I give people time back.
So yesterday, you and I were talking a little bit about some of your superpowers. Can you identify a couple of your superpowers so people know exactly when they're dealing with you, what they're going to get as part of that package?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things I love the most about my business and the flexibility and things that I have is we can find a way where everyone can win with what their strengths are. And so what I bring to the table is basically like project management type focuses, where business owners, entrepreneurs, if you have your side hustle, everyone can just know that things are going to be taken care of the right way. So if they have to travel or need to use their time a different way, their business doesn't have to stop.
Mm-hmm. So one of the questions I had for you yesterday is what's one of the most important things an entrepreneur should look for in a VA? Now, not just necessarily your strength, but if somebody were to go out and start looking for a VA, what are some important things that they should ask about or know in order to hire the right VA?
That is a really great question. That's like, I think everyone should have that in mind, because it's not the same as like, going shopping for a car, or, it's some of the biggest things you should look for with a VA is are they a good listener? Because if you can't get expectations and things communicated across, or there's any kind of disconnect that way, you're going to run into issues. So a good listener and good communication skills is probably number one, and that they actually like working with people is the second one. You'd be surprised how many people service-oriented businesses there are, but people don't really, sometimes they don't really actually like working with people.
Right.
So you want to make sure that who you're working with is fun to work with and is just kind of ready to get going and on the same page, and even being like forward thinking, like 3 steps ahead of you. And that way everyone is at ease and the process goes a lot smoother.
Is it important that the VA know the business that you are as an entrepreneur are in? So, I got dog training stuff I do, and then I got Facebook Live stuff that I do. What about that? What should the VA have information or knowledge in that particular part of the business in order to be successful?
That's a great question. Yes and no. In what I found with working with all different kinds of business type niches, there's like a common denominator that every business owner has that I'm able to find, and then just some things apply to everybody. But some things are definitely business specific, so it helps. And it also would help the viewers to know that there's different kinds of VAs. So there's a whole world of, some are just strictly financial, some are strictly techie, some like coding and all the website development and all of that. Some are more like me. I'm more focused with people, community oriented, follow-up, writing, that kind of thing. So the business owner first has to determine what parts of their business they want to outsource, and then finding the right VA fit for that, because not all VAs are in the same scope. What I mean by that is sometimes, especially now with digital media and digital marketing, sometimes people think it's synonymous when it's not. So you can't necessarily assume a VA is like a Jack or Jill of all trades.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to ask those questions of like, oh, do you actually know these specific programs? Or, it does make it easier if they already are familiar with your specific brand, but some things can be across the board for everybody.
And as long as they know where their limitations are, but then know where to look and to get the help that, that they may even need to help make the entrepreneur successful.
Right. Exactly. And I'm always upfront about that. That's, people respect you more for it if you just have that honesty to begin with of maybe something might not be your skill set, and it's better to have them work with maybe someone else on their team, so everyone's operating in their strengths. It makes it so much easier.
Awesome. So the next question I have is, what's the difference between having just like an intern and a VA? So I could go to Chapman University and get some college graduate that just begins to help me with stuff. What's the difference between that type of person and what you do?
That's another great question. And I do get that a lot, or see that a lot with job board postings on different sites. Not to say that some VAs don't start out that way. For instance, there's programs like Upwork or Fiverr, or there's another popular one. Well, I guess Craigslist too.
Yeah, Craigslist.
Yeah, another one. So sometimes you'll see a lot of ads or things posted where basically they want someone to just work for free, but they have no intention of like exchanging any credit, like grades credit, or, it's basically some people are just trying to take advantage of a really great needed person. And then others, it's part of the school program or whatever it is. I understand most people are trying to find the best investment, the best bang for their buck, and what will go further. So I do get that. But it all kind of comes down to what someone specializes in versus just regular generic tasks. It's because some VAs are like totally specialized in their field and they're really good. They could have master's and doctorate degrees. So you want to kind of step away from the misconception that, oh, you're just someone that goes and gets my coffee and here's this data entry project, when, you know, most businesses literally could not run if there wasn't some kind of assistant to do the details that are maybe too time consuming or just not where the business owner needs to focus their time.
Right. So in the dog training business, I've had interns that worked in the kennels and took care of the dogs and walked the dogs and that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't necessarily, well, there might have been one, but I wouldn't have any of those interns come in to make my business stronger and better, you know, through one of the resources they may have. You know, I know a couple of them said, well, I do stuff on Facebook. But when it came down to it, I said, well, I'll give them a shot. They didn't know. They didn't know more than I did on Facebook. And so there's that limitations. But when you're hiring a VA, I mean, that's one of the expectations, that they can do the things that you don't want to do or can't do or don't have the time for. And so you want to make sure and not be cheap on your way to success.
Mm-hmm. I think it's glitching.
Did I lose you?
I'm here.
Okay, good.
Maybe?
I can hear you.
Okay. Good.
All right. So you test
it happens.
Yeah, it's the internet. You test a little bit on Fiverr and Fancy Hands, Guru.com, and those are all services that we all know in the business that we go to have logos made, or if we need to have something transcribed or something like that. So you touched on it a little bit, but can you talk a little bit about the personal service? Now, when I've used Fiverr, you got to send them like 4 or 5 additional emails to really get your point across to what it is you're looking for, because sometimes they don't quite understand it. But having somebody where you and I can connect, whether it's on Skype or one of the other services that we use, I would imagine that that's probably a better result to be able to have that personal connection than the one you get through those other resources.
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly enough, I actually have a Fiverr account. I subscribed myself as a VA because some of these programs, it's actually a very good introductory way to introduce your services. So sometimes there is a measure of doing some tasks that aren't at your actual pay rate or whatever the project scope might be, but it is a good way to get your foot in the door at times. So I'm not knocking Fiverr. I actually subscribed to it myself. And sometimes, I mean, even as a VA, there's some tasks that sometimes it's better to outsource it myself so I can focus on my personal skill sets. And I think it also matters like what the project is. Yeah. Because some things, if they are generic, if it's you just kind of go the route of, especially if you already know someone's quality of work, and through Fiverr you love the logo guy, you want to be able to support them and everything too. But the specialized thing is definitely some things, like even if you go in, well, I don't know if this leads into the next question about outsourcing overseas or not. I don't want to answer twice. That's okay. I'll just go ahead and
I'll go ahead and just put up that question in regard to the Philippines.
Right. I see it. It connects. It's kind of the same question. And I actually get asked this a lot too, of like, oh, hey, you might have a lot of competition, or how do you get jobs because the Philippines? And I just need to put a disclaimer out there. I have nothing against the Philippines or India. I have friends. I love them dearly, and I am glad that there is an economic solution to help them. I have nothing against that. I have friends who have hired VAs overseas, and again, it kind of comes back to, you mentioned the hand holding of like, well, I like Fiverr and it was cheap, but I also had to like spend 5 hours explaining this to them or reinventing the wheel. And really that was supposed to save me time and money, not give more time and money. So sometimes it just depends. Sometimes if it's generic things like data entry or designing Canva images for branding or follow up on Facebook, some of those things can be easily communicated, and you don't need a lot of outside resources to train them, to train the VAs overseas. And it's great. Some of them are awesome at what they do, very intelligent, and they just need that opportunity, and it's great. Other times it is a lot of hand holding and might not be worth the time investment because there's a time difference, for example. Things can be miscommunicated if their English communication language, if that's not there, that can make it challenging.
Right.
So if it's a more generic thing and that is the best investment for where someone is in their business, go for it. I'm not offended. Like, if it could be true, they could do something faster than me. But if you are specialized in certain things that maybe they don't have the resources for over there, your best bet would be to consider maybe someone more local or here in the States. So that's what I've been kind of discovering these past couple months, that if you specialize and you're really good at what you do and you have some resources that aren't readily available, that's a good advantage.
Yeah. One of the things I think, again, we were talking about yesterday is that they're, especially on a local business. So if you are dealing with local community, that it's probably better if your VA kind of is in this local community, because maybe somebody in the Philippines doesn't quite understand like the people that live in Yorba Linda, which is a neighboring city of mine, or San Diego, for instance. And if you're trying to communicate and connect with them on a personal level, it might be easier if somebody that lives at least close by and understands that community might be a little bit better than selecting somebody from India or the Philippines.
That's a good point. Yeah, it could be very, very literally location specific for some businesses based on what they do. Some aren't, franchises across the U.S. or whatever. So it's also depending like what you're wanting to do with your local community. Some business owners are more global minded, so they don't care. Yeah, others are very like, okay, I grew up here, my family grew up here. I want all my roots, all my connections. I want to like pour everything back into here. So that's a good thing for someone to consider. If that, depending what camp you're in, that would lead you with how to find the right VA. Because, for instance, if someone does want to focus more on someone out where they live, and I'm here in San Diego, I might not be the best fit. Like more than just skill set wise, but there's other factors you factor in, and it's all about relationships at the end of the day, I think.
Very cool. Now, I'm going to spring this question on you. I just thought about it as I was talking to you. It's probably more about me hiring you as a VA, which that's what we were talking about yesterday. And that is, what are some of the tools that you like to use to communicate with your clients? So, do you use Google Docs? Do you use Dropbox? Or what are some of the tools you like to use so that we can connect with documents and that kind of thing?
Right. So I personally am someone that is, I love being resourceful with what I have and why, like some things aren't worth the investment to me. So I love Google Docs because it's free and for the most part. And I mean, there's so many functions in there that it's, it works. It works great for the setup and systems and things that I put in place. But, when it comes to video calls and more advanced things, there's other resources. But usually I even tell my clients this, where they start thinking, oh, I got to go big and do all this stuff. And I'm like, well, there are a lot of things you can do for free. Like, let's start with that. And then, use that to your advantage. Like, your Facebook business page, there's a lot you can do with that. So some of it's a little bit of like education, and some of it's just budget. Like, okay, I would like to use this Asana or whatever this program is later, but right now this works. So it just, sometimes people train me with systems they already had. So they just kind of add me in, and sometimes I work with their system. Other times they don't even have one. they don't even have a database. So I just, yeah.
I'm kind of all over the place.
I find ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried using Trello. I've tried using Trello. I have Evernote. I have, I do have to get everything into one location because I have a Dropbox, a Google Drive, Google Docs. Like I said, Trello, I have Evernote. And so I go, where did I put that document? And what's one of those programs is it in?
Trello, some of the project management type stuff, some tools are better than others, and some are just like, it's like getting a Cadillac when all you really need is just to get to work and back or whatever it is. So, and it can be overwhelming because there's so many of them. Like I have Trello, but then I also downloaded this other thing because Facebook catches you with all the ads. Like, oh, I saw you looking, and you're like, it's like a project management system for your project management system. So I say just keep it simple with what works for you. Like even with your social media, you don't have to have every single platform in the world. Just pick the couple that you really like. And I just say keep it simple. Right.
So earlier I was talking about those 5 stages when I was kind of fumbling and trying to see if you were going to get on that kind of stuff. And the 5 stages that John North and this Evolvepreneur who is sponsoring this particular broadcast, the 5s are the founder, and that's where you have the idea for the business and you're beginning the process of putting your ideas together. Then the explorer would be like looking around to try to find out what tools and resources you need to get your business off the ground. And then organizer, that's the 3rd stage where you're trying to organize all the stuff to get it put up and really begin to sell your business. And then you begin investing into all the stuff that you need to invest into to make it, investing back into the business. And then in the end, hopefully you become a time master where now you're just sitting back, the business is running itself, and you're reaping the benefits of everything you've done on the other 4 stages. So as far as a VA, I see a VA fitting into every one of those stages, and it would be best, at least, and I'm looking for your opinion, I guess, on this, to get a VA sooner than later, especially one that can grow with you and stay up with what's happening. Would you agree or disagree?
I wholeheartedly agree. At every stage, you can always use an extra right hand with being able to soundboard things or have the ideas, or even just, if you double book something and you have to go to a meeting, and, every stage has its own unique requirements. And if you're forward thinking and wanting to set yourself up the right way, foundation wise, the right way, the first time, it's very helpful to include that in your budget when you're putting that all together of like, I'm going to be needing this, especially if you start thinking project manager wise. That person is like your brain. Like it's actually something that I've discovered recently. A lot of entrepreneurs, business owners don't realize that they need when they're a solopreneur just starting out doing everything themselves. And it is the matter of, say your time is worth $500 an hour. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
But if you outsource the same task for whatever amount, you're saving X amount of dollars. So it's saving you resources, it's saving you time and energy, so you can focus on the areas you're supposed to be focusing on. And then everything else can be not autopilot exactly, but you can just know you can be confident that things are being handled the right way. So you don't have to put out fires that don't even need to be, you didn't have to start in the first place. Yep. And it's just starting small, starting with those right relationships. That's where sometimes interns can be great because they need experience, and sometimes it grows from there. Other times it just depends. Someone might they just know it back and forth. They don't, when someone's starting a business, they could have already started 10. So like they have the awareness.
Yeah. But there's that. I have personal assistants myself that I've had over the years, and it's always been much better to have somebody doing those things that I don't want to do and don't know how to do. Oh, I was just going to bring Pat Ziemer up. Pat Ziemer just joined us, but he left his chair. Oh, he's back. All right, I'm going to bring Pat and see if he has some questions for you. He'll be coming on in 2, 1, and there's Pat. Hey, Pat, you just got to move over just a little bit so we can see you. There you go. And see if he has some questions for you. He'll be coming on in 2, I can hear myself in your. Pat, you just got to move over just a little bit so we can see you. There you go.
Hey,
and see if he has some questions for you.
I'm getting a real bad echo.
I can hear myself in your. Oh, no. You just got to move over just a little bit so we can see you. There you go.
Hey, a real bad echo. I'm trying to figure that out.
You have headphones you can put in?
Yeah, all the feedback.
Oh, that looks like the echo went away, but maybe he just turned us off. There you go. Is that better, Pat? Well, while he's getting situated, while he's getting situated, I'll let you think about this question. Is there some experience you have had with a client that made your job difficult? What are some of the things that a client does that is not helpful to you, or that you would like other entrepreneurs to avoid doing to their VA?
Okay, I'm getting a little reverberation, so I'm catching every other word. Was the question, what are some things like to not do? Not do to your VA. Or not look for?
Yeah. Oh. How has one of your clients made your life difficult?
Well,
Uh-oh, now I can't hear you. Oh no, we lost Jessica too. Hey Pat, are you on? Can you talk so I can see if I can hear you? Oh no, we lost Jessica too. Hey Pat, are you on? Can you talk so I can see if I can hear you?
Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Oh no, we lost Jessica too.
But now we're getting
exactly. You talk so I can see if I can hear you.
I'm getting a real bad echo.
Can you hear me now? Yes, I can.
I'm going to drop you off there, Pat, because it's just, I don't think that it's helping our broadcast. Hey, Jessica, can you hear me again?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go. All right, go ahead and answer the question now. How has a client made your life difficult?
I don't know if I want to answer that.
You don't have to say any names.
That's true. Well, one thing that can be really challenging is the mindset of how much can be realistically done for certain results or in an hour kind of thing. And it depends on the task, because some things take time and then the results will come. It just takes some time to get, systems in place. Other things the results are more measurable right away. Like, hey, how many people viewed our video today? Or how many, when you're trying to measure social media metrics and things like that. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I've had that frustration, weird line of like, they might feel like they're not getting their money's worth or something because they're not seeing results. But it depends, like some things you don't see results right away. And it's a lot of legwork behind the scenes to get a good, consistent flow going, and it takes time. So sometimes people have thrown everything. Like they'll I don't know, they just something switches in their head where they're like, I have you for 2 hours, so I'm going to just throw everything at you, and because I only have you for 2 hours, and I don't know when I'm going to have another 2 hours for you. So here's everything, and that's a lot. Don't do that to your VA. Don't throw everything at them at once.
Everything I don't like to do. I don't even like doing my own clothing, washing my own clothes. All right, I'm going to bring Pat on one more time and see if we can get Pat on here. I think he's reset everything. In 3, 2, and 1. Pat, make it work. How are you, Pat? I see that he's thinking. Can you hear me, Pat? Yeah. Oh, well, we tried, Pat. I'm so sorry. Oh, darn. He is a fantastic entrepreneur. He actually created a business behind, it's called MagnaWave, and it heals injuries in horses and dogs and even human beings. It's a
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a wand that waves over injuries. He's worked for the Kentucky Derby, horses that run in the Kentucky Derby, and now he actually now trains other people how to do the same thing, and certifies them. And they use his equipment and uses. But he's fantastic. He's built a huge business out of the MagnaWave, and I know some other people that have worked with him and think he's the greatest guy in the world. And the system really works. It has saved so many people from pain, and horses and dogs from their pain from his system. So I'm sad I can't get him on, because if he needs a VA, you would be a great guy for you to work with.
I guess he has to go the old-fashioned way and find me on Facebook.
I'll try to connect you guys. He probably has some good questions for you. Is there anything that I've missed and did not ask you that you think people should know about hiring a virtual assistant?
I'm checking. Don't worry. I don't think so. I think we covered most of the bases. Although one thing I want to make a distinction for is, well, I guess just being, the biggest thing I want entrepreneurs to know is just being really clear about what you do. And if you're not clear on that, it gets very frustrating down the pipeline with anyone else you work with. So if you're not clear on what things you should be doing and not doing, and you can't explain those expectations clearly to someone who's trying to come alongside to further your efforts, or even, facilitate your efforts to double them, it makes it very challenging. And so when I have my consultations with people, I try to bring those things up of like, okay, what do you hate doing? Or even if you don't hate doing it, what should you not be doing that I can, like, please let me help you.
Right.
Let me help you, help me help you. And it's great. I love those kind of connection calls, because I really get to know the person. And, sometimes they're lost. They don't even know. They don't even know what they're supposed to be doing. And they just have all these expectations themselves as business owners. So I get to come alongside and kind of, put a spotlight on things like, what, it sounds like after we talked, it sounds like you really care the most about this. So how about you focus on that, and then I'll take this off your plate. And it's great. My whole heart, my whole everything behind what I do is to identify how to make things be more efficient. So I look at this current systems. I look at what could be done better. I look at what's missing. I look at who they already have on their team, so that I'm being utilized in the best way I can be utilized, and then I can outsource things to their team. So it's all about focusing on who everyone is, what they're about, and just having that good communication.
Yeah. And I think maybe one of the things that I think the folks that watch the Facebook Live TV show would like to know that you are going to do for me, and that's going to be repurposing my Facebook Lives, taking them and then being able to utilize them in blogs or in YouTube or whatever other platform that I want to put them in. That's going to be one of the tasks that I'm going to look for you to help me with, which again, I love doing the videos, but I'm not necessarily fond of all the extra work that it takes to repurpose the Facebook Lives.
Wait, was that a question?
Well, I'm just saying, I don't like doing the repurposing. I like creating. I just don't like doing the work of repurposing.
Doing the footwork. Well, that's the thing. Like, every business has something that is like the not so fun stuff, but it's just part of operating. It's just part of having things go. And you want to have people that are excited about, what needs to be done to help the business grow. Because if it grows, then you need your VA more to handle more things. And so it says a lot. It says a lot about the character of the person you're working with, how they choose to handle things. Like, sometimes people even tell me, this is probably beneath you, but based on what I know about you or what I've observed, And no task in my mind is like beneath me, because if I'm really having a heart to serve the person that I have the opportunity to work with, that opens doors for, that trust and people being willing to offer referrals because of how you handle the smaller things before they give you the bigger tasks and, important stuff like their passwords and, things like that. So
and there's enough things to worry about, like why people aren't able to connect on the internet and the delay between me talking and you hearing it. Just to take one more task off of my list of things to worry about. Pat Ziemer did come through on a question. I don't know if you can see it or not. It says, how are you going to repurpose the video? So maybe you can kind of dictate back or say back, what are some of the things we're going to do to repurpose my Facebook Lives? What are some of the things we talked about yesterday?
Absolutely. So I actually had the privilege of working with a past client that is like total whiz at the whole live video thing. And I helped work to put together a SOP basically for repurposing your live videos and using that content on all your other platforms. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. And so there's can't remember how many steps. It depends how many platforms someone has, but we would basically get transcripts and closed captions to put on the video. We would turn the transcription into blogs. We can get stills from the video itself for Instagram, LinkedIn. You can do articles on LinkedIn. And I mean, that's just a handful of things you can do with it. But basically, it's brilliant. I mean, talk about saving time.
Yeah.
It just facilitates everything. And that whole project could be done in about 6 hours, depending on editing for certain things. And there you go. Sometimes from one video, you could have a whole theme for the rest of the month based on feedback from your audience and questions. It's like a grassroots thing from your audience.
Yeah, you just mentioned something that I don't know that we talked about yesterday, but taking the stills from the video and putting them on Instagram. That's a pretty good one. Not even one I thought about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can repurpose that and then link that to your Facebook business page from your Instagram, so it's all connected.
Yep.
And the beauty of it is, the whole point of it is you are linking everything back to the original video, so you still get more likes and more all the techie stuff behind the scenes.
Right.
Basically, you're literally just recycling everything back and getting more exposure when you do it that way.
Yeah, and one of the things that I talked about
I can't take full credit for all that because I tag teamed with someone, with a digital marketer who's much more experienced with all those techie things, but I did help streamline it and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And he has a huge following.
I'm not going to take all the credit.
Yeah. What I was going to say, yesterday I was telling you I've experimented with creating a series on Amazon Prime with a number of episodes, about 8 episodes. And again, the transcription for closed captioning, the file that's needed for that, this is, again, it's going to be a big help to me because I've tried doing that myself using the tools in YouTube. You can bring up your closed captioning that it creates for you. And it's exhausting to me to go through that and listen to myself the whole time. So I'd gladly hand that off to you to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, and even with in Facebook, I mean, it's not always accurate, and if depending on your accent, it can be a totally different word that you didn't actually say, but it just picked it up that way. So there are other resources and tools that can make that go by a lot faster, and the editing time would not be as crazy. But that is, if you have a 60-minute thing, that's a long time. Yeah. There's other ways.
But again, do you want to use all your time as the entrepreneur? Do I want to use my time? Is that the best use of my time? Doing that? right? Doing
No,
I should be making the
not
next
at all.
Yeah. Yeah, by far.
Not at all. No.
Let's see, Maureen Boyle, Pat Ziemer, Instagram. Oh, okay. Pat was asking Maureen what IG meant, and she was saying Instagram. Yes, it's Instagram. But yeah, Pat, this would be great for you. Again, I think, Jessica, that package you put together is one of the things that you could do for me was perfect. And it's perfect for anybody that's doing a Facebook Live program to hire somebody like you, or just hire you, because you put the package together. You already have all the steps in place in the package that you can give that to a client for yourself to create the repurposing program for their Facebook Lives. I think that's a great aspect to your company or services.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. I'm just looking to see if there's any more questions on the list that's coming through. Maureen says, repurpose everything. You probably saw that. She loves it. Yeah, repurposing this stuff. Only do it once and then have somebody take care of the rest. I think that's brilliant. And I think that's a great use of a virtual assistant, especially one named Jessica Powers. All right.
Shameless plug.
In the comment section, I went ahead and put your Facebook page on there. A VA for you. So if anybody wants to connect with Jessica, I'm assuming they can reach you through Facebook and send you a private message.
Absolutely. It has a built-in CRM. It's great.
All right. Nice. Do you do much in the bots and the bot stuff, the bot messenger bots?
I've been looking into that as far as creating the actual responses and scripts that the bots can say, but I haven't fully dived in. But that is a new thing that's very helpful. And
I was going to say that's just one of the many tools that I have purchased and probably am not utilizing to what a degree that I should be.
Oh, I see.
If I'm paying for it, I should be using it, right?
Yes. Well, see, well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but kind of surprised. A lot of entrepreneurs I work with that have thousands of followers and are doing really well, they'll admittedly be like, oh my gosh, I need someone to answer my messages because I just totally dropped the ball on that. So VAs are great for that too, of just making sure things don't fall through the cracks, because that could be your next sale, that could be your next team member. And if you're not nurturing the current customers and people that you have, it can leave a bad taste in people's mouths of your professionalism and things like that. Wow. So I try to make you look good.
That is a great point.
I want to make you look good.
I tell you, I'm overwhelmed between text messages, email messages. I have 4 email addresses that people send me emails to. You got all the messengers that you can, message you can get in all your Facebook pages. I'm shocked sometimes. I'll go to a Facebook page and I'll see that there's 14 messages that didn't even know were there, from people asking questions about the program or the group that I have that's associated with it. What else is there? You got your messages, your voicemail messages. I got 2 different phone numbers that people can call me on. So being able to stay up with all of those things is another great use of a virtual assistant. Because I know for sure that I cannot do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just look.
And
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It froze. It froze. So I was trying to hear what you were saying.
Oh, okay.
Is someone else talking?
No, it's probably just a little echo. It's the internet echo, the echo ghosts in the internet.
Okay.
What I was doing is see how many emails that I have on one of my emails. I have 4,780 emails that I've not even looked at yet. So yeah, is that a problem? It is a problem. It's a problem for me. Another thing I need to hire.
It is. And and it helps. Like if someone is exceptionally well with interpersonally communicating with people, and you can just know and trust that they can respond to things in a professional way, and even if they don't have the answers, at least responding within a day or within the couple hours, depending on what it is, that can make or break how you're going to grow, because it's all about how you take care of what you already have.
Right.
So if you neglect certain things, because you won't have a business without your customers, so you can't neglect them. And, you know, it's, you know, even just myself the other day, I responded to a potential opportunity. The person said to PM them. So I know other people commented. I did. I directly PM'd to the person and added them as a friend, of course, because why not? And then it can get weird, and you don't want to come across with that murky, like not even like the it's like a respect thing. Like you want to make sure that's there the whole time, because it's a trust thing too. That's where you'll get your referrals. That's where you'll get repeat customers. So yeah, that's like number one.
Yeah.
That's like one of the biggest things I offer my services for. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I got to do that because Maureen Boyle agrees with you. She says, gotta nurture every interaction. That's easy for me to say. Nurture every action. Nurture. I forgot the first R. Yeah, that is not. Yeah,
okay.
that is not one of my my superpowers for sure. And especially with the number of emails that I said that I haven't even opened yet. And that's just emails. I can't imagine how many messages I've missed too. Gosh, this I could go on, but Jessica, you're hired, and this was your interview. This was your interview. No, I had already decided to hire you yesterday. And now it's just a matter of finding the right project to get started with, and I'll get that to you, and we'll get started.
Great. I'm glad I passed.
Well, you've pointed out all my flaws,
no
not
pressure.
on purpose, but just by talking to you, my flaws are coming out to the forefront here.
Well, that's part of the natural magic that I bring to the table.
Awesome.
I help you feel pain so that I can.
Well, yeah, that's the one thing. You hire a coach to solve the pain points, right?
Yeah. And I mean, and here's the thing here, and this is probably, I mean, you know, I know if anyone has, by the way, if anyone does have questions, because I'm sure a lot, you know, I'm sure there's things we didn't cover, please just message me after, you know, you can rewatch the video if you came in late. But of course you can contact me directly, or we can even set up another call. We can make a part 2 of this.
Yep.
But one of the things I'd love as like a last remark is talking about the pain points. So we're all motivated to move and do things by certain things. So a good rule of thumb to know if you're ready to outsource something is if the pain of staying where you are right now in your business is greater than actually taking steps to you know, outsource. Maybe if you're not like fully ready financially, and that would be like a pain point to move forward, that's a good gauge to go by. Because if it hurts more to stay where you are, floating, treading water by yourself, being a solopreneur, than to just put an extra, you know, take a little bit out of the savings or something to invest in someone to help you, then you know you're ready. And don't ignore that kind of, like, pain is good. Pain helps you grow. There's growing pains. There's every stage in your business, there's going to be different kinds of growing pains. And so you want to have the right people that, you know, get that and help kind of make the process a little easier, not make things worse. So that could be you today. That could be you, where if you really were honest with yourself, there might be things where you're like, you know, actually it hurts way more to just keep doing what I'm doing than if I just at least had a call with Jessica. Yeah. You know, like at least take a step of like, you know, what could that be? Because I think people just get hung up on the money part of it too, where instead of it being an investment for themselves, they get hung up. And so I just want to be assuring to anyone that's been watching today that everything's there exactly when you need it to grow at each stage in your business. And there's always going to be someone beneath you that is just starting out, someone right on the same level with you, and someone who's been in longer. And we all need every one of those in our lives to keep growing. So don't let the money thing stop you from doing what you need to do.
Awesome. That is good. Good stuff right there. And I particularly want to thank you for putting up with the delays in the internet and that kind of stuff. Of course, we have no control over the internet gremlins. And I'm sorry we couldn't get Pat on.
The internet.
Yeah, Pat came through with some questions on the internet. Good. Maureen, I want to thank you for joining us. And I saw that Dale just joined us. So thank you guys for joining us. And there's a bunch of other people on that have not commented. And I want to thank you for joining us. Don't forget that this has been brought to you by Evolvepreneur. There's the link that I put in the comment section. If you want to learn more about what John North is doing, go ahead and click on that link and find out a little bit more about how you may fit into one of those 5 stages and where you might be and how joining his club might help you succeed in your business. And it all involves having a virtual assistant like Jessica on your team is that's our point with this particular broadcast. All right, Jessica, thanks again. I really appreciate you joining us, and all of you, I really appreciate it. And we will see you at the next one. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.